All right. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're all having yourselves a fantastic start to the AM here. Had a refreshing, recharging, and productive weekend, right? And hopefully you're ready for what should be a relatively interesting trading period here as we creep up towards that holiday time frame. Obviously, right, we're going to have Thanksgiving. Was it next week? U.S. Thanksgiving next week. And around that holiday ends up being a little bit of like a strange market schedule, right? So I think the Wednesday's half day, the Thursday markets are closed. And then that Friday, right, ends up being very, very untradeable. So we kind of have a window here, right, in the next, we'll say 10 days or so, where we get an opportunity, right? And then market will take a pause for 3 or 4 days and then get back to going and ripping higher or doing whatever it wants to do. Last week, great week, right? Really fought through some of that price action. We put ourselves in situations where we could set ourselves up to be green, and we emphasized the quality of our process, not the quality of our P&L. I think the biggest trap that you can fall in love with as a trader is being P&L obsessed, because it's never going to feel like enough. It's never going to be good enough. You're never going to make enough. There's always going to be more money to be made, and you're just going to chase something that isn't there. And when you hit a number that is objectively fantastic, it won't feel like that in the moment. It'll feel like you can make more or need more or deserve more or whatever it is. And you'll end up chasing something that then just ultimately leads you to blowing up and puts you on tilt and sets you back, right? What we talk about here almost on a daily basis, I feel like, is that it's the quality of our decisions that creates the P&L that we crave long term. And when we judge ourselves on a daily basis based on a number on a screen, be it in an evaluation account, be it in a personal account, be it in a bank account, we ultimately trick ourselves into feeling worse about our progress and feeling worse about what we actually want to achieve as traders. And I think we all have that greedy persona, right? Or that creature inside of us that wants us to do more, right? That needs more. I need this, I need that, I need this, right? And we need to fight back against that individual and not allow that to cloud us from making the decisions that actually do make us money long term. I don't think I've met a trader here that, when they are outcome focused, ever actually achieves the outcome that they want and walks away. They hit a number, if they get lucky and they get that follow through, and then I made $20,000 in 2 days, let me make more now in the next 4 days. And they take a huge amount of risk, give away everything that they possibly made and then some, and then feel like idiots, right, for basically self-sabotaging their success. And it's simply because they attach their self-worth to their net worth, right, or to the number on their screen. And that is fundamentally a very flawed way to go about building your life. And as a market participant, it's a guaranteed way to lose your money and to lose everything. I think so many of us, right, are working towards a long-term objective, right? We have a goal that we want to hit. We want to do whatever it might be, right? It's quit my job. It's buy the house. It's spend more time with my family. Prove my partner wrong, tell my boss he's an idiot, right? Whatever it might be. And the market is really good at making us want to rush those objectives, right? Or rush towards those goals. And that's the trap, right? That's the trick that the psychology, right, of trying to make money plays on us, where it feels as if we have to do it right away. We have to do it all in one go. We have to do it now or it'll never happen. And we forget about how powerful, right, compounding 3 months worth of trading action actually is. I think Yeah, we chased the extra $1,000 here on Monday, right? So that we can cost ourselves the $20,000 by the end of the month. And chasing that extra validation, chasing that feeling, right? Chasing that trap essentially is a surefire way for you to be a loser, to not create the outcome that you want, and to, I mean loser objectively, right, from a P&L statement, and to fundamentally constantly feel like the game is rigged against you. When in reality, it's a choice to then create that feeling, right? To rig that game against yourself by setting yourself up where you need it right away and just ignoring the processes that actually make you money long term. The reality is that no one makes money every single day. It's just not how the market works, right? I can do everything right and still lose money, and I need to be okay with that result. I need to be happy with that. Otherwise, I put myself into some expectations that I will just never be able to accomplish, right? It's a level of vanity that is simply just impossible to ever really understand and grasp. And so I need to be okay with not necessarily judging myself from a P&L perspective, right? But judging myself from a quality of decisions perspective. And so for me, I became a lot more profitable as a trader when I stopped chasing numbers and I started chasing like basically control, right? I want to be a control freak, not a P&L freak. And being a control freak as a trader means being okay with losing money when things don't go your way. When you follow your system perfectly and it still costs you money, you still have to be okay with that. You can't lose control. You can't feel as if you're owed something. You can't chase an outcome, right, to make it back because, oh, I followed my process today, so I have to make money. It's not the reality, right? The very best edges, the very sharpest techniques that you could possibly ever use as a trader are going to win you, 50% of the time, 60% of the time, maybe 70% of the time, right? And if you expect yourself to be perfect from an outcome perspective, then you won't be able to stomach those periods where the variance doesn't go your way, right? If you choose to demand perfection from yourself from a P&L perspective, you're basically admitting that you need to get lucky and you need to win the lottery for you to be successful as a trader. And okay, maybe, right? Think about like from like a sports betting perspective, right? You can bet the 200 leg parlay and hope that you can, turn that into like $1 million or some life-changing wealth or anything along those lines. But it's not going to happen, right? Like the probabilities of you making 200 good decisions in a row and every decision is correct from an outcome perspective is just a very unrealistic expectation. And bookmakers will cap your max payout that'll be less than the implied odds of that happening. So it's like you have a double jeopardy, right, working against you to achieve that objective. And it's the same thing with trading. You're realistically 100 to 200 good decisions away from feeling as if you're financially successful, or at least having a financial buffer where you can start to make decisions that you're craving, right? You're 200 good decisions away from telling your boss that, hey, I'm going to be trading for myself now, or I'm going to be self-employed. You're 200 good decisions away from being able to do that kitchen renovation at a level that you would have never expected. You're 200 decisions away, right, from being able to spend more time with your partner or with your kids and being able to travel anywhere you want in the world without ever worrying about money. But we get onto decision 10 and we feel like we should be on decision 200 and we chase and we make things worse, and then we have to restart that process. And each time we have to restart, or each time we stop trusting ourselves and stop playing the long-term game, We make it harder to get to decision 50, to decision 100, right? To decision 150, to decision 200. And we just create those calluses in our head over, oh, I've never been able to do this before, so let me try to rush it and break through that barrier, right? And then because you tried to rush it, you actually just make it more difficult to overcome that psychological pain point, and you restart. And now instead of failing at decision 50, you fail at decision 10 or decision 5 or decision 25, right? And you just constantly restart and go back to zero. So trading for me, right? Yes, you want to evaluate your P&L. You want to look objectively at how things are going, but not on a day-to-day basis. If you choose to ride that roller coaster, you will live in a level of anxiety and stress and pain that will make it impossible for you to feel success long term. So today, right, the commitment I ask from everyone is to choose to make those 200 good decisions. Not to make one good decision, not to think that you're one decision away, not to think that you're even 5 decisions away. To actually play that long-term game, right? To actually choose that, hey, today I'm going to commit to doing something that I have never done before, that I'm going to power through my psychological pain points and demand excellence from myself. There's like nothing I can do that will force you to make that decision, right? It honestly won't matter how often I win or how often I lose if you choose to need that next win to be the one that makes you a millionaire, right? Or to make you feel as if you're financially successful. So I implore you all to start playing that long-term game, to commit to yourself that, hey, for the next 6 months, right? Next year, next 3 months, next month, I'm going to go into monk mode. I'm going to be that meditative maniac that only believes in himself or herself or themselves and ignores all this pain and suffering that riding the P&L roller coaster gets me. We've all had moments, right, where we feel as if this game is not sustainable, right? And that's a way of our brains telling us that what we're doing is simply just not working, right? Just fundamentally. And so I would beg you, demand from you, right? And to ask you to commit to making that long-term decision, to commit to building those good habits, to commit to learning from your process, and then, you know, on a month-to-month basis, right, on a week-to-week basis, start judging yourself from a P&L perspective, but stop expecting perfection in your outcome and start demanding perfection in your process, because every single day I can behave how I say I want to behave. Every day, I won't get the outcome that I'm always craving. But if I stack up enough good behavioral days, if I stack up enough good decisions, right? If I stack up enough good outcomes from trusting my process, then I will get the P&L that I want and then some. I will never feel as if I need more money. So that's the challenge for you all here today. The warning I'm going to tell you all, right, is that you will lose everything. You will blow up your accounts. You will lose your savings. You will lose all the progress that you have made if you choose to ride the P&L roller coaster. That is a guarantee. And you have to choose as an individual that you're going to get off of that ride and you're going to go on the merry-go-round and you're going to do the thing that is boring, and you're going to do the thing that won't make you sick, and you're going to trust the quality of your decisions and just stop obsessing over your short-term variance. I'm sick and tired of having to tell people to make that decision and them not making that decision and then complaining that things aren't going well enough for them, right? Because it is a choice, and it's a choice that you have to make for yourself. And there's nothing I can do that will tell you that, hey, this is the right thing for you, right? I'm a big believer that everyone gets what they want out of the market, and most people want the lottery ticket. They don't actually want the long-term win. So choose, right? Make that decision. Be accountable to yourself. Stop being an idiot, right? Stop saying that you want one thing but then doing another. And when you get addicted to not only breaking your rules but chasing your P&L, then each losing trade or each bad outcome reinforces that behavior, and it makes it harder and harder and harder to get off of that roller coaster, right? But when you get addicted to behaving the way that you say you're going to behave, you get addicted to trusting yourself. You get addicted to learning from your mistakes, from studying your process, from getting better, then the numbers will take care of themselves. You'll do tremendously well, and you will outperform of 99% of people. And you will have this skill set that no one will ever be able to take from you, right? And you'll have a level of self-belief attached to that that will make people jealous. They'll make them think that you have this like secret to life that they can't seem to figure out themselves. So look, it's all your choice, right? I can't force you to make a decision along those lines. I can't force you to do anything. All I can do is share with you what I fundamentally believe to be true and try to push you in that right direction. But you have to take that leap of faith and start believing in yourself and create that trust with yourself to achieve any of the success that you're looking for. No more half measures, right? It's time to win, and it's time to take yourself seriously, because you can accomplish what you say you're going to accomplish, but it's time to make your actions match your words. All right, so Monday rant out of the way. I hope you all take that very seriously. It's something that is extremely important to me, and something that, I think is a commitment that we all need to make to ourselves. So let's get after it. Let's focus on our process here today, and let's set ourselves up for a tremendous trading week. So first things first, let's take a look at the economic calendar here today. Today's the 18th, so we got some data at 10 a.m. We got some Fed speak here at 10 a.m. as well. So we'll definitely see, right, how things are going to shape up from there. Markets are not exactly moving here this morning after a pretty big sell-off day there on Friday and option expiration. We definitely have an opportunity for that to be a bit of a low, right? So potentially like a capitulation low, or, right, if we lose basically those Friday lows, that might be an opportunity for us to pull back and to find a little bit of enthusiasm. Short term, enthusiasm to the downside, right? Short term, I'm going to be looking for a downside continuation day here. It's a clear trend line breakdown, increasing outlier volume, nice candle shape, right? And then a gentle little pullback inside yesterday's range. So from a strategy perspective, I'm looking for a continuation story, not a reversal story, until I either see some sort of short-term element of bullish control, or, right, I get a breakdown here and look for a nice narrative. So what's the count here this AM? Let's start there. And let's power through this prep here and set ourselves up for a green day. Yeah, it's a 2 out of 3 to the downside, not a 3 for 3, right? Still a green candle. But still a bull case NA, and we're going to look for a downside continuation towards 58.75. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . And then like a rejection off of 59.50 maybe. And then a breakdown, right? And then we can go down towards, let's go like 5,800. I think that's pretty reasonable. Yeah, no worries, Raim. No worries. All right, NQ. What's the count here? Yeah, same story, spot on, right? 2 out of 3 here to the downside. And it's a big volume bar, right? What we've seen after those big bearish days, very often we get a day of consolidation, right? Similar story on ES, right? Similar story on NQ. So maybe today is kind of like a catch your breath day, right? Before markets really want to rip for us or set ourselves up. But we'll see, right? We'll be able to judge. So if we can break down through that, 2,400 area and really start to push, then we definitely set ourselves up, right, for a good continuation and like maybe the start of a short-term bear market. If we get a day of consolidation, might just be a catch your breath before we end up getting that eventual pop. And so that's going to be the priority, right? Wait for price action to show us enthusiasm before we are aggressive. And then fake out wise, we're looking at 2,900. And then a breakdown towards eventually 20,000. Make sense? Fantastic. All right, crude, not going to be tradable here today. We got the roll day. So last day of the roll, not going to trade this. And the reason I don't want to trade during the roll, right, is because a lot of the big volume is going to be people buying or selling the previous contract, and it's going to potentially create like random volume bars, right? So if I see kind of like almost like fat finger looking volume, it's going to be hard for me to actually trust that that is a sign of continuation when it's actually just like an operational type trade, right? When I'm thinking about how we would roll futures, when I worked at the fund, it was the laziest way that we could have possibly done it. It would literally be, okay, I see good volume, let's get all out at right now instead of let's do this while we wait for a breakout, right? So that creates like really big, aggressive, quick pops, and then price just gets stuck. And so I'm not going to chase any of those candles until I'm away from that environment. All right. Apple, 2 out of 3 here to the downside. Looking for a trend line breakdown. Say under 224. And then again, right, I don't trade Apple and Tesla and stuff along those lines intraday, but I do care about how the internals of the stock market are behaving. So the more consistent of a narrative I can see on the internals, easier it is for me to trust I'm going to get trending price action on an, NQ, for example, or that I'm going to have consistency. So if I start to see, one story on Apple, one story on Tesla, one story on Nvidia, it's harder for me to trust that I'm actually going to get a nice clean trend day. And maybe I can anticipate that it's going to be a little bit choppier. So I'm not looking to trade any of these tickers, but I am looking to see if I can get a nice narrative to fall in love with and then go from there. Okay, so not an inside bar here on Tesla. So we have 2 out of 3 here to the upside without volume. And that's a massive gap up. So this is a textbook BB reversal scenario. And we want to see that gap get tested and then go. Okay, Microsoft, missing volume, right? But trend line breakdown. So I'll probably go like a 410 bounce. That'd be probably my area. And then to the downside here, a breakdown under like 414. Cool. Amazon opening up in the implied middle. So this is setting up as an inside bar day. So need to get down under 199. Can't type. And then NA for a bull case here this morning. Okay. AMD. Pretty big gap up. So textbook BB reversal setup here. All right, so reject off of, 139 and then break down. Or, right, if we don't get that scenario, then look for a continuation move under 134. Okay, sweet. NVIDIA. 3 for 3 here to the downside, going into earnings on Wednesday. That's going to be a big narrative for sure. Lost the trend line. Maybe you have like a second one here. Right? Something like that. So a 139 continuation breakdown certainly has space down towards like 131. Okay. Meta. Two out of 3 here to the downside with volume. And we're looking for a crack here. Gotta get rid of this. Looking for a crack under 550. All right. And then no bull case here in the short term. Right? We've been stuck inside this trend line or wedge range, right, for a month, right? Bit more. So now that we're away from it, we'd like to see some sort of clear separation from those areas to trust that we are going to get nice follow through. Okay, Netflix, 3 for 3 here to the downside. And you're looking for a breakdown under 815. And not really a dip buy scenario because that's kind of a weak candle. So I don't have a ton of evidence that there's bearish dip buyers inside Friday's range. So I'm looking for a continuation lower on just like a breakdown trade versus a get stuffed and go. Okay, Google. 2 out of 3 here to the downside with volume. Again, NA on a bull case, and we're looking for a breakdown under lows or a trend line retest and crack. And call that 171. Sweet. And then last but not least here, VIX hanging out at 16.47. So we definitely do have some extra volatility here this morning. And we'll see if that ends up being a little bit more of a tradable range. Based on VIX reading or VIX calculation and today's opening price, you have kind of an implied range for the week of about 120 points on ES and like 500-ish points on NQ. So curious to see where that volatility shows up. That's a larger implied range than what we had there last week. And last week was pretty choppy, pretty challenging. So if we can get that expansion or expanding conditions setting up here again, that would set us up for a very successful trading week. So let's see how it goes, see how it shapes up, and let's see where that momentum comes together here this AM. And hopefully, right, we can have ourselves just a lot of joy. Make sense, team? We good? Yes, no, maybe. Yeah, I don't really look at gold historically, Norm. So, like, I have it up. I watch the price, but I don't trade it ever. There's a couple tickers that I need to back test when I have some time, maybe over the holiday period. When I'll take a little bit of time off, I'll have some opportunities. But short term, I just don't have the time to back test it. So that'll be like my holiday project. All right, so I'm just going to make myself a quick cup of coffee, and I'll be back in a second here. We're 6 minutes away at the very least from getting, or 4 minutes away from getting a trade. So bear with me, guys. Be back in a second, and we'll jump on then. All right, so we're back. Again, we're looking for clean, consistent narratives. No compromises here today, right? Can't stand compromises. Life's too short to cheat yourself of what you want. And I think we all have the technical skills that we need to become profitable or to have the outcome that we crave. But we very often lack that self-belief muscle and that trust. And that's the hardest thing for us to build confidence in. So all DTR guests, good morning. All DTR members, good morning. Hope you're all having yourselves a fantastic trading day. Cabo or Cabo, hope you're having yourself a great morning here. Welcome. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Pop them in the chat. Ask away. Happy to try to answer things as best as I possibly can. And just remember, guys, right? My objective here is to be as transparent as I can be with my process, what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and sort of the logic behind sort of how I behave on a day-to-day basis. So anything I can do to help you, improve, get better, find that clarity, please let me know. That's what I'm here for. And I take a lot of pride in that. So please don't hesitate to ask questions. Don't hesitate to ask for help. Don't feel as if you have to do this alone. We're all in this together. but we have to make that decision to be the best versions of ourselves as we can. So you all ready for a big week? Yeah, let's go, Greg. Give me a good one. And again, today, right, we have a bearish bias. If we don't get any trades, no worries. If I have to sell in hands, no worries. If markets don't want to move, no worries. Big expectation, right, after a big sell-off day. It's very often, or even a big rip day higher, you get a day of consolidation. So if we end up having to be very patient here this morning, no problems in that end either. And we'll just see how things go. Remember, right? It's the quality of my decisions, not the amount of trades that I take, that ultimately makes me successful. And 200 decisions, 100 good decisions is really not that many. And yeah, I mean, I think that's a very attainable goal for every single one of us. I think one of my favorite sayings is a mistake made once is a mistake. A mistake made twice is a new habit, right? It's a choice. So if we can focus on getting better 1% a day, we just learn something new every single day. We focus just a little bit, right, on finding that like why, right, and working towards our why, then we will achieve absolutely anything we want, right? But we're not going to do it in one day. We're not going to do it in one trade. Even on those trades where, you know, I've had tremendous success, like, you know, had that trade where I made, you know, 90 grand in one day. Like it was incredible. It felt like one of the best days of my life, but it didn't make me feel as if I was accomplished or as if I had made it. And so chasing that feeling is a surefire way to give it all back and then some, right? You know, when I was a kid, I probably still am one, but at least I behave like one. When I was younger, I was a goalkeeper, right, in all the sports that I played. And I think that mindset of understanding that you're going to get scored on and it's going to feel like crap, it's inevitable, right? You can't pitch a shutout every time you suit up and play. Even though that's what you expect from yourself, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to get scored on. You're going to concede goals. You're going to make mistakes and the ball's going to go through your hands or through your legs and it's going to feel terrible. And it's just understanding that that's okay, right? It's a part of the process. And okay, if I don't make the same mistake twice, if I don't cheat to one side, right, over the other, then I set myself up to be successful long term. Even if the short-term variance of outcomes is going to make me feel like crap, right? So there's something psychologically that makes us feel as if we can't make a mistake. And when we get, or we truly believe that, instead of building things out from a perspective of, hey, I can survive 1,000 mistakes, then we kind of struggle to be successful. When I first moved back from the UK and started trading for myself, I was very overweight. I was not happy with what I was sitting at. I was like 247 pounds, I think, at my heaviest, which is, for my size, ginormous. And I hated it. And I tried everything I could, right, to try to lose weight. Did the keto diet, went carnivore, did all those kind of things. And I expected myself every time for when I was dieting to be perfect with my diet, where, okay, I gotta do this every single time, I gotta do that every single time, and if I don't, I'm gonna be a fatty for life. Now, this is just a self-imposed thing, right? This was something that I wanted for myself. And then I read a study, and it was basically saying that the people that built their diets or built their life around being able to have a cheat day, where they expected themselves to follow their diet 80% of the time instead of 100% of the time, actually ended up losing a lot more weight than the people who expected them to follow their diet 100% of the time, right? So what they would find was that when people would say, okay, I'm going to be eating 1,500 calories a day or whatever it is, and then one day they eat 2,000 calories, well, then that feeling of failure would make them eat more, and then that 2,000 calorie day would turn into like a 6,000 calorie day, right? And I think that's really similar to what it's like to be as a trader, where if we expect ourselves to be perfect on our outcome every single day, the second we don't have that perfect outcome, we're going to keep trading and trading and trading until we feel like we've had it. And once we start to do that, right, we will put ourselves in situations where inevitably we'll just blow up, right, and lose all of our money in our accounts. And so, not expecting perfection from myself from an outcome perspective. I'm expecting me to make mistakes, to not always be perfect, to fail at times, but also knowing that the frameworks I have in place are going to teach me how to survive my failures, right? They're going to teach me how to survive my mistakes. And that will ultimately serve me better long term than any singular outcome. Yeah, 100%, right? You have to scale up your discipline, right? You have to get good at learning to trust yourself. You have to build up that reward system for behaving the way that you say you're going to behave. It's not just like a switch you can flick, right? So yeah, this morning, I've been thinking about those things a lot. I feel like I'm going through a little bit of a life transition. And when you're like closing one chapter and opening up another, it's hard to not reflect on what went well in that chapter. Yeah. It's been a long journey. It's been a very long journey. 100%, Derek, yeah. And I'm getting close to making my move to Freedom Land. And it's going to keep pushing. I'm 31. It's funny, like as I've been getting closer and closer to making this move, and you know, starting to transition to potentially a new life somewhere. There's like a part of me that has wanted to delay it, even though it's not what I want. Like, I want to live down in the States. That's my objective. And yeah, as I got closer and closer towards that happening, I found myself like procrastinating it a little bit. And it's just, yeah, you want to get stuck in your comfort zone. Yes, sir, Dwayne. 93, man. What a year. It's a good vintage. All right, so maybe NQ here setting up. We're missing outlier volume, right? But definitely going to start watching this here. We got 13 minutes before market data. So this will have a shot clock on it. I'll close this 9:59 if I do get a look here. Okay, closed under previous low of day, so I'm still reasonably in play here. So as is, ideally looking for the aggressive entry technique and then like 20-point stop loss. So it'd be one contract play. So stop here would be 525.50 plus the spread. So like I said, it'd only be one contract, right? So I've got everything set up here. And we need to see a breakdown under low of day and then a retest, right, of like 510.50. So I have everything set up here already, right? Now I'm just watching and judging, right, the quality of this reaction. Okay. So now it would be possibly the pullback entry technique, right, which would be a stop loss, say 547. And if it makes a lower low here, then we'll go back to the aggressive. There we go. And so now stop loss would be 530. Now we're going to start looking for an entry here. Needs to be above 510.75, right, to be acceptable. So too fast of a pullback here so far. And then again, potentially maybe to go stop loss 521.25. But again, we need to see a breakdown under a low of day and then a gentle pullback into that price. So for now, right, we've been missing that gentle pullback. Okay, so again, big bounce, right, off of 504. That was like 10 points in a second. So again, just setting everything up here, right? Being calm, being patient. I do not have to be in a rush. If I were to summarize anything, right, from a trading perspective, being in a rush to make money sets you up only to be in a rush to lose, right? So our objective is to keep the main thing the main thing. And it's not about trying to make money. Obviously, making money is the important part. But you make money by remaining in control and by behaving the way that you say you're going to behave. So that's the main thing, right? You can't make money long term by giving up that element of control. So when I say keep the main thing, that's behave the way I say I'm going to behave. And don't fall for the trap of like that instant gratification of it being close enough, right? And the more I can expect myself to behave like a rational human being, better things go, right? The more I obsess over those details, the better things go. Okay, so now we can do possible stop loss 510.50. And I could buy more contracts with that, right, for sure. I'm not ready to pull the trigger yet. Probably want to see this reaction around 500 first, right? We've seen a couple of those bounces happen pretty aggressively so far, right off of 500 or as we creep up towards that area. So far, only just saved myself pain and stress and anxiety instead of actually making myself any money here. Okay, so again, we're back to that 520 stop loss. Again, I'm just setting that all up, right? Nice work, Rusty. Make sure you have a plan for how you're going to set this up around the data that drops in 3 minutes or 4 minutes. But yeah, killing it, man. Love it. Beautiful. Yeah, hopefully not. Hopefully you get good follow through. Okay, so now like 523 stop. We got 2 minutes till market data, so I'm going to wait this thing out, right? Just not allow myself to get algo ripped. And ES, I mean, behaving the same way, right? Except we're at no outlier volume. So again, I would still say that NQ looks the stronger setup, but it's not active here short term. Yeah, top of the wick, Norm. Always top of the wick. So I basically don't want to see a higher high if I'm bearish or a lower low, right? If I see that post entry, then I did not get the right timing or the right idea. Okay, so far, pretty vindicated in being patient. Excuse me. Okay, so watch the algo reaction here. If I'm going to judge price action based on how it's behaved in the first 30 minutes, what would be the, I guess, clue that I could take from it? Yeah, a chill day, right? Like a catch your breath day. And if I look at the daily chart, right, and I look at the most obvious recent big sell-off days, so big volume here, right? Previous day or the day following was an inside bar. Big sell-off day here. Next day was an inside bar, right? Big sell-off day, inside bar. Big sell-off day, doji. Right? Big sell-off day, inside bar. Big sell-off day. Okay, small little breakdown. So historically, right, that's kind of the price action that one sees. And now we've seen a fake out higher and a fake out lower. There's like limited reasons to be hyper aggressive. Yeah, maybe I could have made a couple $100. But for now, just protect that mental capital. For me, much more valuable than trying to chase a chop day. Yeah, fair play, Rusty. I can't complain about a green start to the week, especially when markets are not moving. Go enjoy the newborn, man. Time to be a papa. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, very impressive defense of 500. So knowing that, right, if we get a mean reversion set up, right, or another fake out opportunity, we wouldn't be targeting this red line here at the bottom, right? We'd be targeting low of day. Because we've seen price get stuck there pretty convincingly. So if we are going to play that mean reversion idea, it would be towards low of day. And again, right, why am I not interested in a bullish scenario here today? So obviously we are getting some, quote unquote breakout above previous high a day. Why is that not interesting for me as a trade here this morning? Anyone know? Anyone got a thesis? Yeah, it wasn't in the plan, right? So we have trending price action here to the downside. I don't want to go counter the daily trend, right? So swimming upstream isn't really worth it for me, right? It's a very stressful way to trade. I've said this before, but I'm not a salmon, right? I don't swim with against the current. I swim up with the current, right? So looking for trend continuation. And I'm trying to catch the middle of the move, right? Not the very top and bottom of it. So if it makes higher highs here, that's no worries. I know like FOMO that that's the case. And I'm happy to sit on hands, right? So far, none of this price action has told me anything other than a day of consolidation so far. So I don't need to waste my mental capital and energy on something that is low probability. Now, maybe I could make money, no problem, right? But making money while breaking your rules is the fastest way to reinforce bad processes. So I'd rather chill out on the dopamine, right? I don't need to rush any decisions. I don't need to rush any trades. In reality, if I can just avoid my most obvious mistakes and get one good trade a week, that makes me more than I used to ever make institutionally. All right, that would pay me more than the average salary in any country in the world. So I'm not obsessing over trying to make money here today. I'm obsessing over following this blueprint, right? And then, this version here, right, of my setup triggers. It's all about that long term, right? If I behave this way over 100 decisions, 200 decisions, 1,000 decisions, I'm going to be a lot more successful than if I have to chase every impulse that I have. And the more and more I reward those impulses, easier it is for me to eventually blow up because I get addicted to that feeling. Right? So I talk all the time about how profitable trading is more proactive versus reactive. This for me is an example of it, right? I made my plan. I'm happy with the quality of my preparation. And if it doesn't behave the way that I expect, then I'm not going to react, right, to that information and now change things just because I'm craving some P&L. Profitable trading is pretty boring, right? Like we talked at the start of the day here about how the P&L roller coaster, the highs and lows, the ups and downs, they're a thrill, right? It's fun. It's fun to have risk on all the time. It's fun to be, doing the loop-de-loops and all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't make you any money. So I'd rather get on the merry-go-round, spin round and round and round, do the same boring stuff every single day, and know that when I get off, I'm going to be profitable, right? And then it's just also understanding that the work in trading isn't actually placing trades. The work in trading is back testing. It's studying your decisions. It's testing ideas over how can I stop repeating my mistakes over and over again. It's in journaling your plays. It's in replaying price action and seeing, okay, how could I improve my entry? How could I have improved my stop loss? It's doing all those things, right? The actual trading part's the fun bit. But it's not the part that we should be obsessing over doing a tremendous amount of if we're going to neglect all those other elements. Like, I spent all day yesterday watching 7 hours commercial-free football and enjoying Red Zone. But when Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen, they step up onto the field, it's after a week of practice, right? It's a week of studying game tape. It's a week of trying to find what the flaws are in their own game and in their opponent's game and making adjustments over how to hide their flaws, right? Or avoid them so that they don't get that silly turnover, or how they can exploit a defense so that they can be successful. And they spend a week doing that, right? From 5 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night up until it's Sunday, and then they've got 3 hours, right? 20 drives to execute that plan. So they spend way more time practicing than they ever do playing. And that should be the same thing as a trader, right? Just because I only trade for 90 minutes a day doesn't mean that that's it, right? Doesn't mean that I don't do any work outside of that. It means that I spend time outside of market hours or time outside of my trading hours studying my trading, right? Replaying, rewatching, analyzing what I did well, what I did wrong, and not thinking that the work in trading is the actual trading part, right? That's the fun bit that I get to do when I take care of all my other variables. But my primary function is to learn from my mistakes, to get better, to obsess over the quality of my process. And then my secondary role, right, is to place trades and to create new data for myself that I can learn from. If I'm going to create data and I'm going to not track it or learn from it or do anything along those lines, I'm screwed. Never going to make any money. So again, it's a choice, right? It's a choice to frame your job as a trader within those structures, right? And not thinking that, hey, just placing trades is enough, and coming back and repeating the same mistakes over and over and over again isn't going to get you where you want. And so once you start thinking and behaving that way, and you get addicted to that feedback loop instead of addicted to the singular outcome loop, then the pressure that you feel to make money kind of disappears, right? It kind of fades into the abyss. Because you know, okay, if I make the mistake here, one that I should avoid, I'm going to feel worse about the quality of my decisions than I'm going to feel about anything else. And then I know the work that it takes, right, to fix those pain points. So instead of making things harder for myself, I can make life easier by being proactive, not reactive, right? And once we're reactive, once we're making emotional or irrational decisions, what happens next is not logical, right? And once we get away from that logical outcome, then it's random, right? Over how successful you're going to be. And once it's random, you need to get lucky, right, to be profitable. And there aren't any lucky traders. Because the market will always win if you give it that power over you. Always. So instead, I do what most traders are unwilling to do, and that's sit on my butt and be patient and wait for things to be perfect. And I stop taking compromises. So it's not even that I'm patient. It's not even that I'm disciplined. It's that I'm stubborn, right? I'm stubborn that I'm only going to trade and behave the way that I say I'm going to behave. And you can't make me do otherwise, right? In the end, right, if you're feeling stress, you're feeling anxiety, you're worried, oh my gosh, I'm missing the move. Zoom out. Look at the big picture, right? We've not missed anything. How was everyone's weekend? Everyone had a nice weekend? Nice, John. Love to hear that. Hey, congratulations. So maybe we'll have a setup here on the 5. Needs outlier volume. It needs to close as a red candle. ES also giving me a setup, but volume is less appealing. It's got a lot more work to do, right, before it has a chance to go outlier. So let's see. Okay, it's good volume, but bad candle shape, so no trade here yet. But maybe he's trying to get some evidence that bulls are tiring. Ooh. So nothing going yet. Yeah, we need to see outlier volume, right, on any of these setups. Not there yet. So at least a minute and a half to go here. No rush. Okay, so it doesn't look like it's going to be enough volume here. ES, same thing. So again, delay, delay, delay. And wait till it's perfect. Again, I'm not being patient. I'm not being disciplined. I'm being stubborn, right? I've defined exactly what I'm looking for, and I'm unwilling to accept anything else. I'm that kid who's asking for chicken nuggets at the 5-star restaurant, right? I don't care if it's a filet mignon. I want my chicken nuggets. Oh, 100%, yeah. Hey, but when you know what you want, time to be stubborn. So that's literally all it is, right? Like, you choose how you want to frame your problems. So if you constantly tell yourself you're undisciplined, or you constantly tell yourself you got FOMO, or you have this, or you have that, oh, I'm a POS, or I'm a terrible person, you're always going to feel that way, right? But when I can reframe something negative into something positive, and I can choose how I describe what I'm struggling with, it's easier to sit and do it, right? And that's all a choice. That's not forced to make that decision. Not forced to place a trade. I'm not forced to feel as if I need to rush to make money. Right? Those are just self-imposed pressures I put on myself that make it harder for me to behave the way that I want. And we've all got reasons, right? We've all got reasons why we should feel that pressure. Right? Maybe you've got a time clock right before your money runs out. Maybe you've got a deadline at which you want to quit your job. Maybe you've got a young family, right, that you want to provide for. Maybe you've got a room full of people that are waiting for you to place a trade. We've all got pressure, right? But the second we allow that to influence our decision making and we give it power over us, then we tend to only get outcomes that we're not happy with. Right? And then the funny thing with pressure, right, is that it compounds into making that funnel feel tighter and tighter and tighter. And it makes things more difficult, right? Because now, instead of it only squeezing you on 2 sides, now it's squeezing you on 3, and then 4, and then 6, and then 8, and everywhere you go, you've got this headache, right? Of what am I supposed to do? Oh my gosh, I'm never gonna get there. I'm never gonna achieve what I want. Yada yada yada. So instead, here I am. I'm sitting calm, right? I'm not putting any emphasis on having to make a decision. I'm not feeling as if I need to rush into a trade. I don't feel any FOMO for missing this move higher. There's nothing along those lines. There's none of those self-imposed limiting beliefs. Instead, I get to rant and rave and pretend I'm a psychology professor for an evening or for an afternoon. And I don't have to expect myself to have been profitable yet, right? Because the only way I would have made money here so far today is by breaking my rules. And if I start to hold it against myself that I behaved how I wanted to behave and I didn't make any money, how am I going to expect myself to then be disciplined right the next time I'm asking myself to follow my rules, right? How am I going to expect myself that I'm going to cut a losing trade when it's the easiest time to do so versus when it's the most painful? So if I start to hold it against myself that I behaved the way that I wanted, good luck, right? And if I miss action, if I don't get the move that I want, it's a 160 point rip from the lows. Awesome, incredible. Would have been fun to trade that. But it's not worth it breaking your rules to achieve that objective. Because the result here today would have then made it easier for me to break my rule tomorrow. And then once I start getting addicted to that reward structure, you forget about the probabilities, right, of what happens to your account for when you break your rules. Our rules are there in place so that on a 65% win rate, I'm going to be profitable. And so if I don't take low probability trades, I just make it easier for me to execute my process on a day-to-day basis going forward. And I can make things binary instead of making things subjective, right? And again, even though on our short-term time frame, right, it looks like this big, tremendous, incredible move, look at it on the daily. It's not even a third of yesterday's or Friday's range, right? So we can sit there and pretend and pretend and pretend. But all that does is it costs us money in the future. And one thing I've definitely learned as a trader is that what feels best for my account in the moment is rarely what is best for my account long term. And if it's a strong dip buy day and it's a tremendous amount of momentum, then I'll be able to trade that tomorrow. All right, maybe then I'll have flexibility from a system perspective to be able to trade it both ways. But to skip that and to expect myself to have broken my rules and made money is unfair, right? And it's unfair to me. It's an unfair expectation that I would place on myself, because then I literally can't win, right? Because if I complain to myself that I lose money when I break my rules, and then complain that I don't make money when I follow my rules, right, when breaking them would have been profitable, you just put yourself in a pretzel. It's a stairway to heaven today with these candles. So still, right, waiting for a possible rejection thesis. That's the only setup I have here. But need to see big volume show up at some point, right? And a strong candle shape. We got 15 seconds to go on this 3-minute time frame. Seems unlikely that I'm going to get increasing outlier. Might get outlier, but I don't think I'm going to get increasing. So it might end up being a 2-candle setup here if we do get follow through to the downside. Or, right, a setup on a longer time frame. So still just hanging out. How's the quality of the stream today? We're okay? I heard. It's funny. The other one was, you know, short, right? How price reacts to news is kind of random. Still watching here. Still watching. I mean, minute to go. I don't think we're going to have enough volume on this candle, right? We're halfway up the previous bar with 45 seconds to go. So I need to delay that. Might have to just be a slightly more mature trade today. Excuse me. Yeah, that's exactly it, Frodo. Like, the way I look at it, right, is that when things follow my rules, it's kind of like rational logic. When price moves counter to the probabilities of my rules, then it's irrational. And so, if that's the like foundation, then I know that any emotion that's then created by that feeling is one that I want to ignore or not put very much stock into because it's based on like a false pretense, right? So for sure, yeah, there's FOMO, and you wish that it would have, been a smoother day. But I also know that my technique works 65% of the time. And so that means there's going to be a lot of days where it gives me random noise or random data. And I just can't take it personal. I can't try to like change everything based off of that. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely moving higher. But when I still look at it compared to Friday's price action, this looks just like that November 1st, right? It looks just like this Monday the 9th, right? It looks just like that Tuesday the 25th. So, in the grand scheme of things, it looks just like those days of consolidation that we've seen the market give us post sell-off. So, again, no FOMO, right? And when price action is quote-unquote extended like this, right? And we can see extended based on the Bollinger Bands. Well, then that sets us up, right, to get that Friday the 1st sell-off, right, back down towards the mean, or something along those lines, right? So if we can get a nice volume bar here, the potentially easiest trade of the day is still in front of us. Because my original thesis is not invalid still. It just hasn't given me confirmation yet. So if I know that post-consolidation, right, we get a lot of days that look like this Friday, November 1st, and we're at these highs, well, that's as if, right, we're at 277.25, and if we get that high volume reversal, we can look for that mean reversion. So if I'm going to go back to, we're in 2020, what am I doing? All right, so if I can get something that looks like, you know, this high volume reversal, right, or even this one here at 130, that sets me up to get that sell-off day, right? So my thesis for a rejection inside yesterday's range or inside, you know, Friday's range has not been invalidated yet. We've not made higher highs, and we've not had larger volume than what we saw there yesterday. So if I run out of momentum and I see that reversal, then the idea that I can play this for a mean reversion trade, right, it's still very much in play. That thesis is still alive. And it's, you know, almost 11 a.m. So historically, markets don't like to make higher highs post 11. So I'm still very much in play here. But it's been a day of consolidation, right? Okay, yes, on the 3-minute time frame, it looks like a big move. All things considered, pretty decent sized move. You would have made a lot of money off of it. But not been perfect, not followed my rules. And the setup I would have that would follow my rules is still in play. And if I don't get action, no worries. I'll sit on hands. I'll not place a trade. Don't have to do that. Again, not enough volume still. So, I mean, I will be willing to trade CL, obviously, right? No issues there. But just today with the roll day, not interested in trading it on the roll. With other tickers like gold or the Russell or even like a Bitcoin futures, I just haven't back tested them, right? So without really the opportunity to back test them properly, it makes it challenging for me to want to trade those concepts. Also, when I look at the quantity of trades that I've had this year, right? I've taken 254 trades. So that means I am averaging more than one trade a day. So I don't know if I necessarily feel like I need more action. So in futures, right? Futures are like quarterly contracts or monthly contracts, right? Depending on what the future is. And the roll is when you switch from one contract being the tradable one to the next one. So it rolls over from September to December, for example. Because a future fundamentally is the obligation to buy at a future date and price. And so it just changes what that future date is for when you enter a contract. Yeah, well, it just ends up being functionally a multi-day process. So tomorrow, when we look at crude, right, it'll say here, instead of being CLZ, right, it'll be CLF. So now, right, CL1 is the forward contract, and now the forward contract will be CLF instead of CLZ. Well, people, the roll, it just happens overnight, right? It happens once market close. It just does a new dynamic shift, right? But from a practical perspective, the closer and closer you get to the roll date, the thinner and thinner the volume becomes. So funds will start trading from one contract to the other multiple days ahead of the event so that they aren't stuck with a position that they don't want. So things are maybe starting to show some signs of cracking, but I'm not seeing a tremendous amount of volume here yet. So again, if that's the case, I'm happy to sit on hands and not place any trades here today. If I don't place another trade all year, I'm still averaging like 1.2 trades a day. So again, I don't feel like I need more action, right? Allowing myself to make one good decision a day, it's plenty. So any questions here, team? Yeah, one of those days where we had to be patient. It is what it is. I mean, the way the volume has dropped off in the last 20 minutes is pretty disgusting. All right, team. I'm going to not watch this for very much longer here. I'm sitting on my second most profitable position here today, right? Which is cash. So, final call for questions, but I'm going to take off pretty soon. Yeah, you too. Enjoy the rest of your day. You too, Jenny. All right, team. Final call for questions. Final call for questions. %. And yeah, there's going to be the unfortunate reality is that the market is going to move without us a million times over the course of our career, right? So we just can't give it power to make it feel as if that's personal or as if we then need to rush that decision, right? So for myself personally, remaining in control is the objective primarily. And then the secondary objective, right, is making money. So today, okay, primary objective was achieved. I followed my plan. I stuck to my rules. I didn't rush anything that wasn't there. And okay, maybe I could have made money trading something here to the upside. Could have been having a victory lap or something along those lines. But the only way that I would have done that is by breaking one of my processes or by trading against my plan. And if I start to get comfortable doing that on a day-to-day basis, for sure, I'll have some short-term joy with that. But I'm confident I'll have long-term pain. So, delayed my gratification here by a day. Didn't rush any action. Didn't feel like I was owed anything. Sat here, ranted and raved like a lunatic. And, yeah, saved my money, right? And saved my mental capital. So the worst thing that we can do as a trader is say we're going to behave one way and then get mad at ourselves for behaving that way, right? So I can always get better. I can always make improvements over how I view the market. And if things start to change, then sweet, right? We'll adapt and we'll get better and we'll improve. But that work will be pointless if I can't behave the way that I say I'm going to behave. And if I can't trust myself to look at things from an objective perspective. So trading is fundamentally a game of probabilities. And we need to recognize that and be okay playing those probabilities instead of trying to make things into something that it is not. So, okay, frustrating. Wish I would have gotten some action here today. Wish I would have gotten some more P&L opportunities. Didn't get that here this morning. But it's only Monday. It's going to be a long week. We'll get plenty of opportunities for when things set up. And if this ends up being a, high conviction day, then tomorrow we'll have flexibility in both directions. And we can look for either breakouts back up towards Friday's high, or we can look for rejections or reversals back down towards today's lows. So in the meantime, I don't need to waste my mental capital. I don't need to waste my physical capital. And I certainly don't need to strain my eyes watching price action that doesn't seem to want to give me an opportunity that neatly follows my rules. So we got 20 seconds left on this candle. This one has like maybe an opportunity to go increasing outlier volume. So this will be my last chance to really look at something. If it doesn't, I'll just walk away. Even on the 5, man, I don't think it's going to get there. Close, but not a good enough candle shape. I don't think it's going to get there. So yeah, team, I'm not going to do anything else here. Happy to sit on hands. Hey, well, my pleasure. Welcome. And yeah, tomorrow, hopefully we'll have a busier day. We can take advantage of some action. And we'll see how it comes together. But, look, trading is all about probabilities. And there's going to be lots of days inside all of our careers where the market doesn't behave the way that we expect or the way that our rules suggest. So the only option is to sit on hands and to avoid those obvious mistakes. So same deal like always, team. If you have any questions, hit me up outside of market hours. I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. Otherwise, looking forward to catching up with all of you here in our one-on-one calls later this afternoon. And we'll chat then. So have yourselves a great day, and I'll talk to you later. Peace.